Hi, in this video we're going to look at how we set up the XM Cloud development environment. The way I'm going to set it up is with, of course, JSS. Next I'm going to set up Storybook and Tailwind. I absolutely love Tailwind. I think it works really well with component-driven development. Storybook is a great way to be able to test your components and really make sure that they're working correctly. So that's what we're going to see in this training session, how we get started with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is run npm init Sitecore JSS Next.js, and this is going to set up Next.js Sitecore with Next.js. We'll see that it's going to ask me a few questions. Where would you like your new app to be created? I'll just use the default Next.js folder, and then it's going to ask me the name of my app. I'll keep it Sitecore JSS app. And then what is your Sitecore host name? Again, I'll keep it as the default dev local. And then it's going to ask me how I want to fetch my layout and dictionary data, whether it's through GraphQL or through REST APIs. It's really up to you which one. And then, of course, whether you want to use SSG or SSR for pre-rendering your application from Next.js. So I'll choose SSG. Next is going to actually ask me what I'm going to use for setting up, or what I want to install as part of the setup, whether I want the style guide to be installed or not, whether I want to add the style guide tracking. These two are more legacy, I presume, or like I wouldn't really use them because they're with Sitecore XP here, and this is the style guide, the old style guide. What I do want to, however, set up is Next.js SXA, and this is actually pre-release, so I'm using a canary version of the JSS app, and hence I'm able to see the SXA components here. And I would, in most scenarios, also set up Next.js Personalize, and this, what it does is actually it creates the plumbing for Personalize, and we're going to see that as well. So I'm going to choose these two as part of my setup. Next, I'm going to just leave it to install. And once it's installed, we're going to go through it and see what has been created. And then we're going to start setting up Storybook as well as Tailwind. So while it's setting up, just to show you how the structure is, we talked about it last time, but you'll see here on like a clean environment, you'll see that we have our components. So this is the different components that come out of the box. Things like title, rich text, promo, these are the ones delivered out of the box, but you'll also see the CDP integration script, and this is the one that connects CDP and runs the CDP configurations here. We're actually going to start first by trying out on Tailwind with the normal button that comes with Storybook, but then we're going to further integrate it with some of the out-of-the-box Sitecore JSS components as well. So first I'm going to just move to the Next.js location, and then I'll just install Storybook. So it's npx sp init. What this will do is it will install Storybook, and as soon as it installs Storybook, I'm going to actually try it through Yarn Storybook before I get started with Tailwind, and then I'll set up Tailwind. Now that Storybook has been installed, what I'm going to do is actually run Yarn Storybook just to make sure that everything is working correctly, and it's telling me that it's going to start Storybook on port 6006, and as soon as it runs it, I should be able to just refresh my page. It's still running. Yeah, now it's running, and I can see that Storybook is indeed loading here. I have my introduction, I have my buttons, and I have my header component, all the different samples that come with Storybook. The next thing I'm going to do is just install Tailwind. Now, there are two things I do to install Tailwind. The first is actually just run the npm install for Tailwind. However, for proof of concepts and for rapid application development, I don't usually rely on the Tailwind compilation, what I do rely on is the Tailwind Play or Tailwind CDN. The way I do that is by going to the .storybook here and add a new file called preview head, so that I can add the Tailwind script directly in there. So this is the script source for Tailwind from Tailwind documentation site, which enables Tailwind to run in just in time and without me having to compile. This should not, of course, be done for production, but in this scenario and for creating kind of rapid application development, I think it's a great way to quickly try out things and make sure they're working. So what I'm going to do next is go back to my source and then stories, and we'll see that I have my button story here. I'm going to just add to my button itself a new field here. I'll just call it CSS class. And you can think of this as what's going to be coming from the styles from Sitecore. So when we move to Sitecore components, this is actually going to be coming in as input from my params, my rendering parameters.styles, of course, like so. So we'll be able to test the same concept, but I'm just showing it in a simplistic way first here. So the CSS class I'm going to use here, I'll just pass it as well here. And actually I need to change its name because Tailwind CSS class, and I'll use Tailwind CSS class here. I don't want the default storybook button, and I don't want the button size from here. So I'll remove these and I'll replace it with the Tailwind CSS class. Next, I'm just going to run Storybook again. And return back to my button. And you'll see that my button now looks a little bit different because, again, I removed some of the styles. What I'm going to do here is just try to add styles, and this is, of course, Tailwind styles, and you'll see here I'm starting to be able to override. So the button size here, I've overridden that. I've added some padding. I can add like rounding, maybe rounding LG, and you'll see as I'm typing it here, it's updating. And this gives me that ability to test my styles that are coming from Sitecore. In the next video, we're going to actually look at how we can do the same thing for a promo component, for one of the out-of-the-box components that are within SXA, and then we're going to look at how we can start creating our own components as well. So thanks for watching.